Why, hello everyone, or just the one. This is Communications Director Grayson Hester for I Just Need a Minute. Um, 15 minutes max every week, except for the third week of every month, which is Real Talk, where we basically just take a minute because we all could use some time just to breathe or listen to an inspiring word or just sit. Hello, Robert. Good to see you. So today I'm not going to do anything too elaborate. I'm just going to say a few words and then hop on off. But since we're talking all month about, and also if you're in the chat, let us know if you're here, say hey. Hey, Isha, good to see you. Yeah, just let us know that you're here. And I have the window open, and people are wondering where this disembodied voice is coming from. So if you want to call me God, I won't say no. So yeah, just let us know if you're in the chat. And as you can see below, we have our join information and our, please ignore my crusty nail, and our ways to give. Before we go any further, I'll just talk about how we are in the middle of our hybrid fund, which is all about preparing to return to in-person ministry, but keeping our hybrid online streaming capabilities so that we don't leave anybody out. Case in point, the two people who have said hey are not in Atlanta and would have great difficulty showing up month after month to our in-person worship. But they're just as much a part of the ministry as the people who live in the metro area. So we want to make sure that y'all are included. And to do that, we have our hybrid fund. We are, I think, over halfway to our goal of $10,000. So if you feel so led to support the ministry in that endeavor so you can keep content like this and content like our monthly worship service not only going, but going better than they've ever gone before, then you can donate at Givelify, faithcommunity.org.give, or Cash App TFCATL, which of course is the Faith Community Atlanta. So also this week, William Bean is leading our Bible and Beyond Live. That will be happening at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time on Saturday. And that will be on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, just like this. And so y'all don't want to miss it. We are continuing our series on context, which of course is predicated on the idea that if you take a text out of its context, then it is a con, which is a clever bit of wordplay from our pastor, Christian A. Smith, or as I like to call him, Christian V. Smith. And that brings me to what I'm going to briefly be talking about tonight. And it's just an affirmation that it's okay to be, to acknowledge that you have been conned by the church, by a pastor, by a system of theology, by a ministry, by parents, by youth ministers, by friends, whoever played a role in your faith formation. Hey, Myron. Whoever played a role in your faith formation, who intentionally or inadvertently planted within you ideas of rule-keeping theology, toxic theology, harmful theology, it's okay to say that you have been hurt. It's okay to say that people have hurt you, even if they did not have any intention to do so. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to call what happened a con or a scam or a scheme. Hey, Tony. And that doesn't mean we have to wish ill or harm upon these individuals or entities that constructed something within us that we now need to deconstruct. Hey, Denise. It doesn't mean we have to wish harm on them, although, you know, the imprecatory Psalms, which do wish harm on our enemies, do set a biblical precedent for at least speaking to God our wish for harm upon people, so maybe we don't ourselves do it. But it's okay to acknowledge when things we love or used to love have hurt us, and we need to distance ourselves from them, or we need to repudiate them, or we need to, like Jesus, spit the lukewarm out of our mouth. I think sometimes, I know in my own experience, I've been afraid kind of my own self to acknowledge when something or someone has hurt me or violated a boundary because I was afraid it's like I love this person or this thing, but I don't want to admit that I'm angry because then that might be like disrespecting them, or it might call into question the love I have for them or something. And all the while, I was ignoring love for myself by just letting my feelings be feelings and feel them. And so the word I just have is that if somewhere along the way, or currently, or both, um, an entity, and I'll just use that as a catch-all term for the systems, ministers, theologies that I mentioned before, has hurt you or has conned you, and you are in the process of reclaiming, renaming, restructuring, deconstructing, healing, whatever it is. Oftentimes, healing begins with naming. And as Dr. Shaniqua Walker Barnes said, reconciliation begins with the curse. And she used Alice Walker's The Color Purple to support and expand on that idea. And so when we say taking a text out of its context leaves you with a con, it implies that you have been conned. We're not speaking into the vacuum here. We are speaking from experience, and we're speaking from our own narratives, and we're speaking from the world that we see, and many of the religious institutions that dominate headlines and dominate narratives that we see out in the world. That they're conning people because we know the truth, I would say, of a God and a Jesus that bid us to love ourselves as our neighbors, as we love God, and to bring in justice and shalom into the world. Yet we contrast that with what we see being wrought upon so many people globally, and people within our own person and within our own communities. And so we know it's a con because a con involves somebody approaching you, trying to sell you something, knowing that what they're selling you isn't the truth, knowing that they're doing so to rip you off, knowing that they're doing so for their own gain and your own extortion. And so that is harm. And if you've been conned, if you've been sold something that you've later learned isn't the truth, or maybe always knew on a bodily level, gut level, spirit level, wasn't the truth, and now finally have language for it or community for it, it's okay to just name it and to say, I have been conned. I have been hurt. The church has hurt me. This person has hurt me. This ministry has hurt me. This theology has hurt me. This parent has hurt me. This friend has hurt me. And then move from there. Not really much else to say, really. But it's okay to struggle. I know, not to put you on the spot, Robert, but last week in our Bible and Beyond, we were talking about how much I love Ecclesiastes, and Robert and some others weren't quite as on board. And wasn't a detriment or a personal thing. It was just a struggle, and struggle is a space in and of itself. As Paula Williams, a trans Christian activist, you can look her up on TED Talks. She's on the board for Q Christian Fellowship, said lost is a place too. Struggle is a place too, I would add to that. So you can just sit in, if you don't know anything else, if you don't know what's next, if you don't know what necessarily to believe, if you don't know what your faith will look like on the other side, or if there even is another side, maybe you can just rest in your ability to name a hurt and therefore not let it dominate your own narrative, dominate your own life. You can at least exercise authority and autonomy in pointing to within your own self, or maybe even on your own self, depending on what kind of harm it was, that, hey, you know what? I've been hurt. And I don't know what happens next. I know I'm working towards something. I know I'm letting it be. I'm moving towards healing. But I don't know what that looks like. But you can find some stability in saying, I have been hurt. And I'm going to try my best to heal it and to not put myself in situations where it's likely to happen again. We will all get hurt again. No ministry is perfect. So I don't want to say hurt is always in the past. But you can at least say, I have been conned. I have been hurt. And I know that healing will come in its own way. I know that this isn't the end. I know that death doesn't have the last word, and that God willing, Sunday is coming. But people had to mourn on Friday, and people had to mourn on Saturday. And of course, I'm talking about the resurrection narrative. But if you find yourself more towards the Friday, Saturday end of things, there is still beauty and there's still freedom in naming what has been done, what continues to be done, what your body signals to you, to echo back to your body. I hear you. There is pain here. There is hurt here. There is anxiety here. There is trauma here. There is fear here. And that's okay. And at the faith community, we welcome that, and we encourage you to name it, and to even name it if it happens here, when it happens here, because no ministry is perfect. And ministries that tell you that they are the ministries most prone to do imperfect things. And that's really all I have for you today. That when we talk about conning, when we talk about when you take a text out of its context, all you have left is a con, we are implicitly recognizing that we are a community of people who have, to some extent and in our own ways, expressed through our own identities and socio-political locations, that we've been conned. And we would like to seek something that's more genuine, something that's less exploitative, something that is more communal, something that is more equitable. And I think naming it is where to start. So if all you can do at any given moment is just be like, damn, I've been hurt, then that's something. That is a thing to do. That is a bravery, a small one, yet still a bravery. And so I encourage you, if you want, to put in the chat right now, if this feels honest, if this feels authentic. If it doesn't, please don't. But just to say, I've been hurt. You don't have to, but if you would like to, if that would be healing, to just voice that in a community of people whom you know will receive it, just please put in the chat, I've been hurt, I've been conned. And that is worthy of speaking, and that is worthy of receiving. And so if no one else is around to do it, I will receive that. And then that gives us a place to go from, or just to sit in. But know that your hurt is seen, and it is not all of you, but it certainly is a part of you. And we can't just jettison the parts that we don't like feeling, because they're as much a beautiful part of the whole, WHOLE. Thank you, Robert. And again, this isn't thank you like I wish everyone would. I just acknowledge Robert said this and I appreciate it. And if no one else does, that's totally fine. And yeah, I hope that in acknowledging the con and acknowledging the hurt, there can be healing in its cyclical, nonlinear way. Because again, it starts with naming. There's a reason why in the beginning was the word, and names are words. And so there must be something creative and creating in naming. I don't think Adam would have done it as one of the first acts of humanity in one of the Genesis narratives, if naming, to the animals, that is, if naming weren't important. And I don't think, so name it, and then claim it and release it, or hold on, or let it move next door and then visit it sometimes. But just at least know that you have autonomy and you have capacity to name and to claim and to seek and to heal and to just join in the restorative work. It's not a restorative destination necessarily. It's not a restorative resurrection, distinct moment in time. It is both that, and it is a continual process. And so I thank you for allowing 15 minutes of your day to be spent with me. And I hope this has been part of that process and not additional or adding fuel to that fire of hurt. If it is, feel free to let me know. I certainly wouldn't want to do that unintentionally or intentionally. But either way, thank you for joining me with I Just Need a Minute, where, again, the basic affirmation is just, if you've been hurt, it's okay. And it's okay to say it. And it's okay to name it. And it's okay to acknowledge that it's there. So in whatever ways you've been hurt, I pray for healing. In whatever ways you've been healed, I offer thanks. And I appreciate your spending this time with me, because as always, if you need a minute, we've got the time. Take care.